so the fine folks at Aoshida Audio sent over 2 SMSL products for me to check out. First up is the DO100 Pro. It's like a DAC preamplifier that retails for $219 US. And then there's the PA40, which is what they call a power amplifier, which is really an integrated amplifier, and that retails for $149 US. And of course, if you wouldn't mind liking this video, subscribe to the channel. It'll help me out a ton and help me get more products like these in for review. Cheers. SMSL is another one of those brands that was always on my radar. It was sort of on my budget gear bucket list, if you will. I heard lots of really good things about them, and I wanted to hear what all the fuss was about. Starting with the DO100 Pro, the box includes the DAC itself, a remote with no batteries, a USB to USB-C cable, a power cable, and a manual, and the Bluetooth antenna. On the front, you find the screen, a standby LED, the volume wheel that doubles as a power button when pushed, and around the back you get stereo XLR and RCA outputs, coaxial in, optical in, HDMI ARC, USB and Bluetooth inputs, the power connector, and the power switch. It supports Bluetooth 5.1, SBC, AAC, aptX, aptX HD, aptX low latency, LDAC, and the screen is a 3-character numerical display. Total harmonic distortion is this number, signal to noise is 131 decibels in XLR, 127 decibels in RCA. The DO100 Pro is built around 2 of these DACs, and then the preamplifier section uses 6 different Texas Instruments, these chips. The remote is a slimline plastic affair. It's cool, you can use it to turn on and off the unit, and for basic functionality, it sometimes works, it sometimes doesn't. The PA40 integrated power amplifier thingamajiggy is about as simple as it gets. You get a power plug, an IR remote, again without batteries, and some documentation. Once you get going, there's really not much to it. You get 1 RCA input, a single set of speaker outs, and a power switch. It's a Class D amp, of course. The power amplifier is an Infineon, this number. Total harmonic distortion is this. Signal to noise is 100 decibels. Power output is 85 watts into 8 ohms, 165 watts into 4. Inside the PA40, they did include tone controls as well as some handy presets. EO is direct mode, ET is tone mode, E1 is I can't pronounce this word mode, E2 is bass mode, E3 is super bass mode, E4 is rock mode, and E5 is soft mode. In addition to that, you also get treble and bass adjustments, as well as a gain setting, just in case you want to crank up the volume. Throughout the course of my using this thing, I did end up just using both volume dials all the time. It was just so weird that they both kind of control volume, but yeah. Both units do come shipped in these really minimal white boxes, and if I'm being honest, for some reason, that minimal look just elevates these units, and that premium feeling remains when I get them unboxed too. They're slick, clean, all black designs. The displays are cool, but also kind of irritating. They're 3-character displays, they remind me of old school clock radios, and they're really difficult to navigate. Because they are 3-character, it implores you to look at the user manual to figure out what they mean. I guess this is a compromise for the price, and this is a sample size of 1 user complaint, but because of my day job where I have to interact with so many different user interfaces, something like this just gets confusing, and every time I use these units, I have to start all over again, and I have no idea what I'm doing sometimes. Like, more than once, I tried to adjust tone controls on the DAC versus the power amplifier, just because in my head it just made sense that the thing controlling the amplifier would have tone. But that aside, I like the fact that they're small, 7.5 inches wide by 7.25 inches deep by 1.75 inches high. And the small size is nuts because the power supply is internal, which also means that it doesn't come shipped with one of these giant power bricks, which makes it easier to place in my tiny condo. And for that reason alone, it puts them into contention as small products to get. I moved these products around in my condo until they landed on my desk. First, I set them up on my kitchen shelf connected to the totem looms. I use that via Bluetooth because a single RCA connection on the PA40 would rule out using the DAC in conjunction with it. The PA40 is plug and play. There's not much going on. Just connect the source, which in this case is the DO100, and then turn it on. The second setup was in my bedroom. connected to my TV via the HDMI ARC port, but sadly it doesn't turn on when I turn on the TV, nor does it respond to the Apple TV remote like some Elac amps. In my bedroom, I had them connected to whatever speakers weren't getting used in my main room. The third setup was in my living room, connected to a variety of different floor standing speakers. I went with the Martin Logan F10s with the Cambridge CXN V2 as the source connected via coaxial. And lastly, on my desk connected to the MacBook Pro and a pair of Q Acoustics 5010s. Starting off with the DAC, it's a DAC, and as per usual, I don't really hear an audible difference between this and any other DAC, so I'll just go out on a limb and say that it's neutral. If you have more of a golden ear than me, or you're more of an audiophile, then great. Maybe you can tell a difference between this and another DAC or something. There are also 7 different filters on this, and again, I just picked the first one and just left it because I can't hear the difference between any of them. The one cool thing though is both of these units are really quiet, even when connected to a pair of floor standers. I don't hear any audible noise. I even took the volume down, just turned it up, just to hear or see if I could hear any audible noise or feedback, and there was none. My impression when I first got this and connected to the Totem Loons is how bright and crisp these are. I'm pretty sensitive to bright and clinical gear, so this had me worried as the Totem Loons aren't a really bright speaker. So I was happy to engage some of the tone controls. I started off with one of the presets. It was bass mode. It just brought the bass up and the treble back down. And it sounded okay, but it did sound a little bit muffled. So I opted for the custom EQ settings, dialed the treble back by 2 and the bass up by 2. This made it sound more full-bodied and less bright to my ears. Now I have read that this is at the expense of overall signal purity or whatever, but I just want to enjoy my music and I want it to sound palatable to my ears. So this tone control setting works for me. There is still a ton of detail up top, and there is decent low end heft, and this is unfair because I'm going to just quickly compare it to more expensive gear like the Cambridge EXA100 and the Marantz Model 50. The sound stage is a bit narrower on these speakers, especially when I do connect it in my living room. But if you compare price to performance, then the PA40 outperforms those two amplifiers by a fairly wide margin. It's actually kind of ridiculous for what you get. And if you don't count yourself a crazy nitpicky audiophile like me, then this will suit you fine. On the bright side, the imaging is pretty great, and the music does come towards me in a nice inviting way. Playing Fade Into You from Mazzy Star, it's big and tall, and there's great instrument separation as well, but it's more me listening to the recording, not so much me getting lost in the music. And then of course, running some drum and bass sounded really good on this combo. And of all places, my bedroom while I was cleaning up and making my bed, the Keys to Kill Time from Kid Drama via the Apple TV 4K with the Elac DB63 bookshelves, I found them to be a great match, so much so that I moved this entire setup to my living room to give them a bit more space and to get a better sense of what this sounded like. Those speakers took the edge off the top refinement and made it an altogether easier listening proposition over the long haul. The bass was taut enough and the sound was just wide enough with the assist from the tweeter of those speakers. If I was to pick, those would be the speakers that I choose to pair with this combo. It makes for an all-black affair, it looks good together, and crucially, those speakers are fairly inexpensive as well. And then moving over to the Martin Logan F10s, again with this exact same album in play. It's a fairly varied album, so I think it works well for a review purpose. If you haven't heard it, go listen to it. But again, there's no real audible noise coming through the speaker when the music isn't playing, and when it is playing, those highs can be reined back by the treble because I am a little more sensitive to the highs, but because there's a dedicated mid-range and 2 bass drivers, it just sounds really full, it sounds really engaging, and this combo has enough juice to properly power that speaker. So you can get away with a decent size or a modest size floor stander if you wanted to, especially if you have a smaller room like mine. But it was onto my desk where these products really just came into their own. I have long since gotten rid of my studio monitors, mainly because I get so many different speakers in for review that I find myself just burning in speakers on my desk, and I like having a fairly capable but also small footprint amplifier to pair with a pair of bookshelf speakers to help me run those in. I connect my MacBook Pro via USB-C, via my Apple display. It reads the DAC every single time, no questions asked. And it's nice knowing that I have gobs of power behind whatever speakers I have on my desk, and I'm treated to really great sound all day when I'm working. And I guess the inevitable question here is, how does this fare against the likes of Fosse Audio and AIMA, other small, inexpensive products that I have had in for review? And if I'm being frank, I would just pick the one that aesthetically pleases you the most. There isn't a wide margin or wide gulf in sound between them. To be honest, as I A/B'd these against Fosse, I could barely tell the difference. It's really which one's in your budget, which one has the functionality that you need, and again, which one do you like looking at? If you like all black, the SMSL is a really great option. For what this is, and for what it's priced, you really can't go wrong. If you fancy having an all-digital system, the DO100 Pro is a really great option. The fact that it has HDMI ARC means you can connect it to a TV, but it got me thinking that maybe in my next space, when I do have more room, maybe connecting a TV and having that above my desk or somewhere in the space would be a great option. That way I can watch TV and then also utilize my screens for just work. It's a really handy option. The PA40 is a nice stripped back amplifier. I like that it has tone controls and it makes a great pairing with this, not just visually, but also functionally. If you're out there, you want to build out your first system, you're looking for a secondary system, you want a lot of features, but you don't want to spend a lot, I would definitely shortlist this system. Thanks for watching.